This is Sean Dove. I'm the CEO of the Campaign for Black Male Achievement, and want to welcome you enthusiastically to our monthly network membership call. We are just really excited, as always, to bring folks around the country together on this call to hear what's happening and share best practices and information and inspiration from the growing field of Black Male Achievement. The Campaign for Black Male Achievement is a national membership network that seeks to ensure the growth, sustainability, and impact of organizations and leaders that are committed to improving the life outcomes of Black men and boys in this country. Black men and boys is our narrow angle lens point of departure, but at the heart of what we do, it's really a community building strategy with strengthening the field of Black male achievement. We do that in three core strategies, and one is through capacity building and ensuring that the leaders in organizations have the tools and the resources to strengthen their work and to deliver upon their mission. The other is through our network and movement building. Our growing membership is about 4,500 individual leaders and about 2,800 organizational leaders. If you are on this call and you are not yet a member of the Campaign for Black Male Achievement, I encourage you to go to blackmaleachievement.org, click on Join the Network, learn more about the campaign, learn more about what it means to be a member, and what we would ask for you to contribute with your membership. The third strategy of the campaign and the work that we do to build the field of Black male achievement is what we're going to be talking about today. It focuses on strategic communications and field promotion, and we have a mantra of, how do we help local leaders and hometown heroes advance in this work, become masters of their own media? How do we help shift the narrative around Black men and boys in America from a deficit model to an asset-based model? And so I am going to quickly shut up and pass the mic or the facilitation over to Janet Dickerson, who's senior consultant for strategic communication for the Campaign for Black Male Achievement, and she is going to lead us through a really exciting, robust call this afternoon. So it's all you, Janet.
Great. Thank you, Sean, and thank you again, everybody, for joining. Again, my name is Janet Dickerson, and as a strategic communications professional, I'm particularly excited about this call and all the great speakers that will be presenting today to talk about their work. In the BMA field, communications, storytelling, and narrative building are extremely important, and the tools and strategies that we use to carry out our communications and tell our stories is equally as important. One organization in particular that has done a tremendous job of leveraging communications to impact change and inspire movement building is Color of Change. For the past decade, Color of Change has been a great mobilizing force within the racial and social justice movement. And in fact, next month, they'll be celebrating their 10-year anniversary. They'll be hosting a gala in New York City. And CBMA is extremely proud to have been a partner and supporter of their work. And so joining us today, I'm very excited to welcome Rashad Robinson. He's the Executive Director of Color of Change. I'm sure you've all seen him and know who he is. And so welcome, Rashad. We want to open it up to you to really share with our members the work of Color of Change, and also to share a little bit of background on the 10th anniversary celebration taking place next month, and also to share a little bit of what's next on the horizon for Color of Change.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure to be with so many inspiring change makers. I know so many of the folks in this community and their work, and we at Color of Change are absolutely inspired by so much of the work to elevate and amplify the voices of Black people in general and work to push back against so much of the challenges we see in terms of Black men in the media. At Color of Change, we believe deeply in the power of media. We believe deeply in the role that media has in shaping the lives of of Black folks, and we've been working on a number of specific campaigns to change the narrative. First and foremost, over the last several years, we've been working in the news media to push back against some of the negative images and stereotypes that get pushed by corporate media. We've been doing a mix of campaign work, and you may have seen some of our early campaigns around Glenn Beck or Pat Buchanan or Andrew Breitbart. But over the last couple of years, we've really been digging into deeper research to better understand and also work behind the scenes with media to help them understand some of the challenges. So we did a report specifically on New York news, New York local news, the power of local news that so many people simply don't understand or aren't aware of that power. There was a recent report sort of done on local news and showed that in terms of coverage of Black men, over 85% of the coverage was related to crime and sports. So you either had superhuman sort of athletes or you had menaces to society and sort of nothing in between. We wanted to look deeply at New York news and some of the decisions that we're making, but also how that impacted the larger field of local news all around the country. And so we looked at local news in New York for 6 months, and we looked every single night to track their crime coverage by race. Then we compared that to NYPD arrest records that we already knew were skewed because of stop and frisk and broken window policing. Even after the skewed research, even after the skewed reporting from the NYPD, all 4 of the major networks in New York overreported Black crime by nearly 50%, and they underreported white crime. We did that report, but then we dug in deeper, and we went to each one of those networks and started to meet and are starting to do pushback and training and all of the things to move the needle inside of these stations in terms of the implicit bias and the decision-making that happens every single night, that over the course of months and years creates a vicious cycle in terms of what people see and hear. Make no mistake, if these networks don't want to change, we'll be ready to mobilize our 1.3 million members to push back. But what we're trying to do is both do the outside work and the inside work to transform how media tell our story. And we're taking that work across the country. We're going to be doing this report in a number of other cities, partnering with local organizations. So, we want to hear from you in terms of what's happening in your city, but we're looking at a number of other cities. We're also working behind the scenes in Hollywood, pushing back on some of the narratives, but also working behind the scenes and being a resource for creative. We've been doing writers' room meetings to bring real stories into scripted television. This is a lot of work I did prior to coming to Color of Change, within the LGBT rights movement, but bringing that into Color of Change and working to amplify the stories that are not being told and ensure that media has the tools, and when they don't get it right, we push back. And we've been doing this work, and this is part of the extension of our 10 years. And finally, we are leveraging the 10 years to tell the story of Color of Change, of an organization that was founded with a single email by Van Jones and James Rucker in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, when folks all around the country, all around the world, in fact, were looking at the failure of our government to adequately respond. They wanted to do something. They wanted to not just give, but they wanted to stand up. They wanted to take the presence of that moment, the cultural presence of Hurricane Katrina, and translate that into deeper power for Black folks, the power to hold institutions and corporations accountable. And over the course of that 10 years, we ran campaigns from Gina 6 to holding the American Legislative Exchange Council accountable for voting rights, to getting the TV show Cops canceled from Fox, to the ongoing work we're doing around voting rights or in collaboration with this Black Lives Matter movement that's happening all around the country. We've launched a distributive organizing platform this year called IamColorOfChange.org. You can go to IamColorOfChange.org. It's a platform that allows organizations and local community groups to build their own petitions and campaigns on our platform. We're pairing that with training. And so people should reach out to us if they're interested in being trained and developing more digital campaigns within their networks. And finally, we're going to be having a gala at Gotham Hall that CBMA is a sponsor of. Thank you so much to Sean and Rashid and the entire network for their support. We're going to be honoring Van and James for founding Color of Change. We're going to be honoring the visionary director, Ava DuVernay, for the storytelling that she's been doing in Hollywood. We're also going to have a great after party that we'll have more details on, but Questlove will be DJing the after party, and we're using that as simply a celebration. We are an organization that doesn't take big corporate money, so we don't have galas every year. In fact, this is our first gala ever, and I keep saying it's our last. But it's a moment for us to be reminded and remember that out of tragedy, Black innovation created this organization, and through creating this organization, we've been able to empower so many voices, make so much change, and we've been able to do that in collaboration with so many of you. So thank you for any of you that have helped to make our 10 years a success, and thank you for continuing to stand with us as we work to transform the media landscape over the next year.
Thank you, Rashad, and congratulations again. One of the things that I think our members would be most interested in hearing about, especially since the theme of this call is strategic communications and story development and narrative building, is all of which Color of Change does so well. What have been some of the most effective communications tools that Color of Change uses to mobilize your network?
So it's incredibly important to think about, who you're communicating to. So we think about space communication. That's communicating to our members. And it's not simply about raising the issue or bringing about awareness. That's presence, and presence is important. But we oftentimes think about how do we translate the presence that's happening on issues that are around us into power, translating cultural presence into cultural power. And we think about communications as a couple of things. We think about how do we illustrate concrete harm. So concrete harm is not sort of overarching grand sort of civil rights language. It's being very concrete about what the problem is. How do we build common ground? And that's storytelling. That's elevating the stories, but giving our members the tools to be able to talk about the issue to their friends, family, neighbors, people they work with. So turning our membership into the echo chamber to translate those stories out there. And then to avoid our opponent's message. Right? There's so much out there in terms of how Black folks and Black men are talked about. Oftentimes we are talked about as symbols of the larger problems that exist in our society. So Black folks are used by, and our stories are used by, everyone from Fox News to, aspects of the right wing. And we're used to tell a story about the problem. What we oftentimes do at Color of Change is we find strategic moments to elevate different issues. And through campaign work, through the participation age, we're not simply communicating in a vacuum, but we're leveraging moments to communicate about broader systemic issues. So we like to say that, vision is great, but vision without execution is like a hallucination. So we are always grounding our communication in action and analysis, and the ability to translate moments. So if you're on the Color of Change email list, you're always being hit with moments to do something, when you're being asked to do something. And from a strategic communications perspective, in this day and age where we are hit with so much information and there's so much opportunity to have presence around the issue, we don't want to mistake awareness and presence for power. And it's always about thinking about how do we use communication to translate presence into power. How do we use tools, and how are we very aware of the audiences that we're speaking to and always giving them something to do.
Wonderful. Could you, for our members, talk a little bit about the history of Color of Change's partnership with CBMA and how it's impacted your involvement in the Black male achievement space?
I have to go back to prior to me coming to Color of Change, and I remember very clearly that Sean and Rashid had asked me to speak on a panel back when I was leading the Hollywood and media work in the LGBT rights space at GLAAD. And they invited me on a panel to just come and talk about some of GLAAD's strategies and some of the success we had in changing the narrative around LGBT folks. And I had done this panel, and I ended up doing a panel with some of the folks from Color of Change and I knew James Rucker prior, but I ended up having a conversation, and the conversation actually about me coming on board as executive director sort of started because of some of the rooms that were created by CBMA and some of the ways in which they brought people into the room. So much of the conversation that was happening at CBMA, I kept thinking, I was like, wow, I could translate some of the work I'm doing at GLAAD to CBM, to some of this moments we're having around narrative change and communication. We could make such a difference. And I remember taking the job at Color of Change, and shortly after that, having meetings with Rashid and Sean and talking about how they could support. They were one of the first grants I was able, in fact, they were the first grant I was able to get for the narrative change work. They were the first foundation to support us building out our narrative change work. Before the end of this year, we'll actually be fully launching our Hollywood hub and hiring the director for our Hollywood office. Over the last 4 years during my tenure, we've grown our Hollywood work so much. But if it wasn't for the early support of CBMA, we would have never been able to run the campaign around All My Baby Mama. We would have never been able to run the campaign to get cops canceled off of Fox. And some of the early support that we were able to get from CBMA were able to help me and my organization transfer our vision into actually something real, the ideas that we had on paper, the know-how that we had into the actual work. And so having that support, having that partnership, and being part of the table of so many leaders around this country doing this work, collaborating, supporting one another, has been key.
And Rashad, in return, we definitely want to make sure that our members know how they can continue to support Color of Change. So what are some steps that our members can take to do just that, leading up to the 10-year anniversary gala, but then also beyond that, because we hope Color of Change will be around for a long time. So what are some ways that our members can join the mission of Color of Change and continue to support your work?
So I have a couple of key things that folks can do. In the spirit of action, because we're always action-based, we are running a campaign right now to urge the president to deal with an executive order around banning the box for federal employees. It's something that he said he wants to do, and we just need to build the momentum and the energy externally to be able to push our leadership in this country to do it. And so you can go to colorofchange.org, and that's one campaign that just from an action perspective. But you can also sign up at Color of Change to be part of our movement if you haven't already. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook. If you have the resources and capacity, please come to the gala or come to the after party. We're going to be selling separate tickets for that very soon. These are all ways that people can sort of support us as we're heading into this process. Also, people can support us by joining and creating their own campaign. We have launched this platform, I Am Color of Change. It's an opportunity for everyday people, and particularly for folks who are working inside of organizations and working on movements already, to build local campaigns on our platform, to engage with the Color of Change members. So many of the recent campaigns we've been running over the last year have come from that platform and have been led by voices in the community. And this is an opportunity for us to collaborate with so many of the partners over the years that we've wanted to collaborate for it. So sign up, join our campaigns, but also we are in a new age of participation. So create your own campaigns on our platform. Run your own campaigns. We will work and try to provide training and support, but the more opportunities we can have together to raise our voices, to be action-oriented, and to use communication and narrative change to not just talk about the issues, but to really do the work, we will actually be able to transform so much of what we're seeing in our media landscape and build a type of power to hold the institutions that have so much weight over how our stories are told. We'll be able to hold them accountable.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again, Rashad, for joining us. Everybody, please definitely visit colorofchange.org to learn more and be up to date with what the organization is doing. We also encourage you to follow them on Twitter at Color of Change, and also follow them, like them on Facebook at facebook.com/Color of Change. And so now I'm going to turn it back over to our CEO, Sean Dove, who's going to share some really exciting news about a new initiative that CBMA will be kicking off before the end of the month.
Thanks, Janet, and thanks, Rashad. Hopefully you're still on the line. Really appreciate your leadership. One of the things I was expecting or hoping that Rashad would ask for when Janet asked, how can the CBMA network support the work of Color of Change, and I was hoping he would direct people to the donate button and how to give. And, to create change, you need leadership, you need vision, you need execution, you need strategy, you need grit. But I'm sure everybody on this call will agree that you also need some money, right? You need some resources. Yeah, you need social capital, but you need financial capital. And, one of the things that struck me early on when we launched the campaign for Black Male Achievement in 2008, how quickly I realized that the resource supply did not meet the demand of good groups doing great work that needed to be funded. In our report that we partnered with the Foundation Center of BMA funders called Quantifying Hope that we released earlier this year, we highlighted the philanthropic organizations that have invested in the Black Male Achievement movement, focused on improving the life outcomes and opportunities for our nation's Black men and boys and their communities and shifting policies. We also highlighted that, it was critical that cross-sector support for the BMA movement, support from not only government, the corporate private sector, the not-for-profit sector, the faith community, and philanthropic institutions, that all those sectors are crucial to advancing the field and ensuring that Black men and boys have an equitable opportunity to achieve and succeed. But we also realize that they can't do it alone. And in CBMA, in the Office of CBMA, we began to ask the question, what would a generosity movement for Black Male Achievement look like? What would a little crusade for time, talent, and treasure look like to expand and increase the resource revenue? And, we realize that in order to accomplish the change we wish to see, we're going to need all hands on deck. We all know that CBMA believes that the cavalry is not coming and that we all are the iconic leaders that we have been waiting for. And what does that mean? That means that individuals like you on this call who are already involved, but how do you become more deeply involved and investing your time and your talent and your treasure to support the strategies and solutions that work and have demonstrated results? And so we're tossing around this generosity movement notion, and we decided that the first step would be that the Campaign for Black Male Achievement would join the Giving Tuesday effort that happens nationally. Giving Tuesday is an international day of giving around the globe. It's celebrated annually on December 1st. Giving Tuesday is about motivating people to donate and give to causes and initiatives in their cities and communities they're most inspired to support. And so we just have this vision of, yes, CBMA is in a position now. We are not within the foundation to raise money and build capital for us as a growing organization. But we are not successful if we are not actively leveraging resources for the broader field of Black Male Achievement. If we are not helping to invest into the hometown heroes and local leaders, we're not executing our mission. And so Giving Tuesday is not just about supporting and CBMA raising dollars, but it's about supporting all of the organizations and leaders like you that are on the call. And, the founders of Giving Tuesday, they liken it to disaster fundraising in reverse. In a disaster, the tragedy brings people together to rally around those in need by supporting organizations that can make an impact and provide relief and address the disaster. On Giving Tuesday, on December 1st of every year, the movement rallies people around their desire to do good, to make a difference, to matter in their communities and the world. It's not an obligation. It's an opportunity to be part of something that's big and meaningful and feels great. And we said, you know what? The Black Male Achievement movement needs to be a part of Giving Tuesday as we are building this generosity movement for black men and boys. And, and just as a disaster relief organization, recognize how important it is to raise funds when there is heightened public awareness. All nonprofits can capitalize on the awareness and excitement of Giving Tuesday BMA. Now, we just added that BMA to the Giving Tuesday hashtag and just being a little disruptive and doing some early branding there. So with Giving Tuesday, it's all about the strategy, but there's more than one approach, and we are going to be sharing with our membership network and folks on the call. And for those of you that are not members, we're going to give you information on how to join the growing CBMA network. But, your Giving Tuesday goals can be about more than dollars raised. Consider a goal focused on recurring givers, new donors, volunteers. So many of you on the line are in the mentoring movement and are engaging volunteers in different ways. Your Giving Tuesday could be increasing not necessarily the capital, financial capital, but the human and social capital, in-kind gifts, or even social media followers. Some of y'all want to blow up your Twitter followers. Giving Tuesday can be focused around that, but it's really about creating excitement on that day and building beyond. Giving Tuesday can be a chance to tell fresh stories. It can be a chance to attract new or younger supporters, different segments of potential givers to your cause, your organization, the Black Male Achievement Movement. It could be a day to accelerate your social media presence or to diversify your fundraising channels, which we all need to do in this age of increasing competition and the challenges we all have in raising dollars. And so the lessons you take away from Giving Tuesday can impact all of December, your fundraising closing out 2015, but also serve as a launching pad for your fundraising going into 2016. So CBMA is going to sponsor a series of Giving Tuesday webinars. Many of you have heard me say that the cavalry is not coming, right, to save us. I think I just said that a few minutes ago, right? We're the iconic leaders we've been waiting for. With this in mind, the challenge from CBMA to all of us is to think about how to leverage Giving Tuesday as an opportunity not only to give, but to encourage others to give and to support the Black Male Achievement Movement. As an organization, we're dedicated to providing you with capacity-building tools and resources to support and elevate your work. We're committed to helping you figure out and solve the thorny, gritty challenges on how to best take advantage of increasing revenue opportunities, and we think that Giving Tuesday is one such opportunity. So our first webinar is happening a week from today, Thursday, September 24th, from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. CBMA will officially kick off the generosity movement with the first of three interactive informational webinars to provide more information about Giving Tuesday, which this is the nucleus and start of the generosity movement for black men and boys. And really, we will highlight ways in which you can become involved, ways in which you can get in and fit in. And joining us for that webinar will be Jamie McDonald, and she is the founder of Generosity, Inc. Jamie, her personal mission is to spur people to give, act, and innovate on behalf of communities and causes in schools. After 16 years as an investment banker, she made the shift into a current personal mission of startups and venture capital to innovation and growth of the generosity economy. She's been really central to the Giving Tuesday movement. She serves as Chief Giving Officer of Network for Good, the nation's largest online charitable giving platform. At some point, we want to take a survey. How many of us on this call are effectively raising dollars and funds online? That's going to be part of the learning, and hopefully CBMA can help increase that number through the information and the capacity building. But just a little bit more about Jamie, who's going to facilitate the webinars. She joined the Network for Good as part of the acquisition of GiveCore, organization which she founded, which is a crowdfunding and peer fundraising platform for nonprofits and educational institutions. And reiterating that we in this sector have got to end our addiction to institutional philanthropy, traditional philanthropy. There are a bunch of innovative alternative ways to create revenue streams, and this is one way to do that. In our Quantifying Hope report, we highlighted that there was increased funding for the Black Male Achievement Movement from foundations, but when you look at the broader giving of institutional philanthropy, your organizations are receiving a very slender slice of the philanthropic pie. So we will be sending information out over the next few days on details on how you can register for the webinars and the dates for the following ones. We will be doing blogs, and all of this building up to December 1st, Giving Tuesday. And as we build up to December 1st, we will be sharing more broadly how you can get engaged, contribute, and be part of the cavalry of the generosity movement for Black men and boys. So look out for the email updates. Again, please go to blackmaleachievement.org. If you are not connected in our network, if you found out about this call, someone forwarded to you, and you want to be able to receive information about the field of Black male achievement, the resources and the connections that are available, that's the best way to do it directly. Together, we can build a beloved community for Black men and boys, and hence the broader community and this nation. So excited to just launch this Giving Tuesday, and hope you will be joining us next Thursday for the first webinar.
Great. Thank you, Sean. And again, as Sean mentioned, we will be in touch over the next few days with information on how you can register for the webinar. So please definitely stay tuned for our emails and also to our website. So now we're going to move on to the next part of our agenda, which is going to be very exciting. We are thrilled to welcome a roster of speakers to talk about Question Bridge, Black Males in America. Joining us are members from the Question Bridge team who have worked on the project from its origins as a video installation, then into a mobile app, and now into a book that will be released early next month. So please join us in welcoming artists and co-creators Hank Willis Thomas, Bayate Ross Smith, and Chris Johnson. We also have joining us executive producer Jesse Williams, as well as Natasha Logan, who is the producer of Question Bridge as well as a co-editor of the book. Jesse, Hank, and Chris have each contributed essays for Question Bridge, as well as CBMA's very own VP of Communications, Rashid Shabazz, who is also joining us on the call today. And CBMA is very proud to be a co-publisher of the book along with the Aperture Foundation. And so without further delay, please join me again in welcoming all of our speakers. I'm first going to turn it over to Hank, Bayate, and Chris. Feel free to tag team on this question, but share with our members how Question Bridge came about. What were the origins of the project, and how did you become inspired to turn it from a visual art installation into a mobile app and now a well-anticipated book?
Hi, so this is Chris Johnson, and I'm really happy to be in this call. I have to say CBMA has been a real inspiration and really kept this project alive. And the origins of the project go back to a project that I did in 1996, believe it or not, in San Diego, called Question Bridge Black Community, where I was looking for a way to create a healing dialogue between parts of the Black community that were separated from each other by class and economic education barriers. And so that project was really an exciting experiment in using video to get people in diverse communities within the Black community to ask and then answer questions for each other. And I saw it then as a really exciting experiment, and that's pretty much how it stayed until Hank Willis Thomas approached me in 2007 to to focus that same methodology on black males. And so that began a 4-year odyssey where Hank and I and Bayate and Kamal Sinclair, who really should be mentioned also, traveled around the country, gathered questions and answers from black men in all parts of the country, built it into the installation that, with the support of CBMA, Rashid will remember a crucial conversation we had on Columbus Circle, where the idea went from just a vision to a real installation at both the Brooklyn Museum and the Oakland Museums. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. And so it really became a project that had a life of its own and grew from there.
Great. Now, Jesse, how did you come to be involved in the project?
Good morning, afternoon, everybody. Thanks, CBMA, Rashid, and Aperture for your relentless, creativity and support for movements forward for our folks. So I just want to say thank you first. I came across Question Bridge via Hank and Kamal after meeting them several years ago. I think it was 2011. And was immediately, they knew when they pitched it to me that it would immediately be up my alley and a point of interest for me as I was seeking a bridge between my past life as an educator in the community and my new life as an actor involved with media. So being able to use media to be informative, be purposeful, and kind of create a vehicle for us to not wait for other people to represent the black voice and black perspective and black experience anymore, and find a way to cut out the middleman and go directly to us, for us and by us. And so that's how I got involved. I'm incredibly proud of the work that we've been doing and our promise to unpack and reveal this kind of honest bounty of perspectives and experiences within what's become known as blackness, and ultimately other predetermined demographics that, all these things impact and often restrict our daily lives. So at QB, we found a way to not have to choose anymore whether to use our inside or outside voice when having these traditionally private conversations in the in-group, by choosing a communication model.
Hello?
Hello?
I guess maybe he got. This is Hank Willis Thomas.
I think we lost Jesse.
I'll pick up where Jesse left off. That our real mission with Question Bridge is to show that there's as much diversity within any demographic as there is outside of it. And we realized that by first making the art installation, that we were able to touch one kind of audience that went to museums and galleries, and we traveled into 35 museums and galleries around the country. But then we realized the emergence of transmedia methods. So creating a website that's interactive and a mobile app that's interactive would be another way to reach audiences wherever they were. And then to produce community engagement events at different, that were kind of live roundtables that we did in Brooklyn and St. Louis, and Bayate and Chris did, Bayate and Jesse did during Ferguson. But then the book emerged as a new way to kind of give the project a living archive and a new way for people to engage. So I just finished your sentences, Jesse. So
awesome, as you always do.
Thanks, Jesse, for rejoining.
Should I jump back in?
Absolutely.
Sure. Where was I? Well, I guess I just want to say a couple things just briefly about the app and the book, but also the model. I think that I really want to hammer home something that is maybe often overlooked, the simplicity of kind of the brilliance of Question Bridge. By us deciding early on not to predetermine what issues black people care about, by not continuing to this cycle of regurgitated quote unquote black issues, but instead creating a platform that will find out. Let's find out in real time, but let's crowdsource for free what issues are that people care about in a particular demographic, and also requiring our participants not to hide behind the bully pulpit of message boards, right? We can see how effective and kind of destructive that platform can be. So instead we require our participants to be face-to-face, to see each other, to listen to each other, to participate in the conversation in a safe space of their choosing. You can do it anywhere and any place that you choose to be. And we also require entry into a topic via a question and not the more traditional statement thesis model, and that really allows for like a lasting, malleable discourse. As Chris Johnson has said before, like the subversive nature of asking a question. You're admitting out front that you don't know the answer to something, and you're committing to stick around to hear somebody else's input. So that distributes, its services equally and simultaneously not only to the in-group, in this particular case, black males via exposure to its own kind of untapped and immeasurable potential, but also to the out-group. So what's of interest to me in particular for out-groups is like white America, for example, which has this inherited power to determine our quality and ultimately our right to our own lives. So if we happen to, as a byproduct, do some of their work for them by humanizing ourselves in front of them, that might be a productive residual effect only in that it impacts policy. Obviously, I don't care about, their hearts or minds. It's about actually changing policy that impacts our lives and our ability to have a right to them. The app, I wanted to say that, our young folks are interacting with their smartphones more than they are with real people. That's just the fact of it nowadays in terms of minutes in a day. And if we created a free app that allows us to take our village model of outreach and make it available, make ourselves available to each other for us to lead and to follow and to listen and to learn from each other on a model created by us. And that's now at your fingertips for free 24/7, no matter what age you are. And our community is no longer, what we call community, quote-unquote community, is no longer dictated by your locale. What's missing in your own community in terms of human resources, which I'd argue are spiritual resources, can now be immediately supplemented by the human beings available to you, tailored to your specific needs and concerns on a device that's never more than 12 inches from your hand at any given point in the day. That's what our app is, and that's the service that we aim to provide. And the book is really a more traditional archivable version of the Question Bridge model. It's really a curriculum in its own right, in my opinion. It's shareable, it's teachable, it's delivered at the pace of the individual holding it, and it's there to be revisited. Our organization, our online platform, our app, our book, it's all an opportunity for us to go beyond like talking about community and to actually be about community, to redefine, to investigate in real time, represent the communities, plural, that are populated by black and brown folks. There is no such thing as one black community. We are not a monolithic group. We are not this homogenous lump that all moves in lockstep and feels the same way about politics, sexual orientation, any other topics that are of the day. So we can share times and resources in that model, and there's a lot of gold to be mined. We as people are the gold to be mined, and this is, we're providing a toolkit that we hope you guys can support and share. And we thank you so much for your support and for being here today. And we can really use your ideas and your interaction going forward, both on the website, the app, and by grabbing the book and using it in your real lives.
And to that point,
yeah,
Chris maybe mention that education.
Yeah, I really like to talk about this because the reason the book is particularly important is because the holy grail for what we're trying to accomplish with Question Bridge is to get these ideas about empowerment and identity building and personal growth in front of children. And one place where children are a captive audience is in schools. So for the past couple of years, I've been working in partnership with the Gantt Foundation in North Carolina to try to do something that, if we accomplish it, would be a major breakthrough, and that is get Question Bridge and its message and its content in front of junior, middle, and high school students in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system. And I'm really proud to say that working together with Gantt, we've gotten CMS to agree in principle to a pilot project. Gantt spent $10,000 of their own money to fly one of my colleagues down there because we realized that we can't just deliver Question Bridge whole as it is to teachers. They need a teacher development program. And so CMS, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system, has agreed to the pilot project. And given the funding, because, of course, school systems, public school systems especially, are hurting for funds, but the fact that they've agreed in principle to support integrating Question Bridge content into their middle and high schools means that the book is a perfect tool for them. So I'm really excited about the timing of how this has all worked out. And we'd like to talk more about, how to move this project forward. But if we get a pilot project going in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school systems at both middle and high school level, teachers are already audience. They're great consumers of books. And so if this works the way we hope, it's a model we plan to spread throughout the country.
Wonderful. If you could give our members just a little bit of insight into the curation process for the questions, and I guess this is really relative to the app itself, since that is how right now a lot of people are submitting their questions. But are these all questions that they came up with? I mean, what was sort of the process of pulling those together?
Sure. We can talk about that. This is Natasha Logan, and thanks again for taking the time, or Hank, if you want to jump in, feel free. Thanks again for taking the time to talk with us about all of the different aspects of Question Bridge. Hank, do you want to talk about the app and the question?
Well, I was just going to speak to the brilliance of the way that Chris theorized the project, which was that everyone has a valuable perspective to share. You can share it through a question. And so basically what we did is we went around the country, asked African-American men to ask and answer each other's questions. And then we continued to kind of broaden our kind of database. So we have now over 300 questions and almost 1,500 different answers. And so it's growing daily as people continue to contribute onto the app. We have over 1,100 profiles on the app, so maybe Tasha can go take it from there.
Right. So the app and the book now, I mean, the really exciting thing, as Chris and Hank and Jesse have mentioned, is that it's completely user-generated. And with the original exhibition, it was limited in some ways to where the artists could travel and how many people they could capture. But now, as Jesse mentioned, the app is in the hands of anyone who can get access to it on a smartphone, on a tablet, or a computer. And we're really, our ongoing effort around Question Bridge is to try to have as many voices represented as possible, and as Jesse mentioned, to really take control and to put the control directly in the hands of the people who are being represented, to show the world what it is to be a Black man and what that looks like in all of its myriad formats. And that's really the opportunity that we have with our app, and we're actively encouraging individuals to join us there, to ask questions, to find questions to answer, and to talk about that both in a national level, because it's an ongoing conversation, but also in specific towns and cities across the country. It's you can look at the content on the app based on location. You can see what issues matter to men and communities in different parts of America, and looking at how that changes and shifts over time is something that we've been really interested and excited to be able to participate in. So we really see the app as a tool for organizations, individuals, educators, and advocates who are already doing the work in communities around issues of Black male identity and achievement, and what that means for the future of our communities. With the book, if you don't mind me segueing just for a moment, Janet, the content in the book, it's a really exciting opportunity for us, as we've been involved in this project for many years and many different formats. What we've done in the book that's coming out in October is take the original content that's been traveling around the country for the past almost 4 years now, and take that content and reorganize it based upon some major themes that we saw emerging from that user-generated content. So themes like relationships and sexuality, family, faith, history, and other topics that are really pinpointing what these men wanted to talk about and what they wanted to share and understand about each other. And that then becomes a tool that you can basically take the book, in addition to the contributing essays from people like Rashid and Jesse and Ambassador Andrew Young, and really start to get a sense of what this national conversation was like and matter in the critical issues of today, and then use that to instigate dialogue almost as a tool in addition to the other ways of accessing the Question Bridge content, whether it be the app or perhaps the exhibition is in a city nearby. But this is really meant to be a tool to give to people to have it in their hands to pick up and reference at different points, to use it as a conversation starter or to deepen an ongoing conversation, to really be a companion product in a way.
And
I know I keep harping on this, is that the book is an incredible utility in classrooms. I mean, that's where the sustaining life of this project, I think, will be into the future. The installations are wonderful and really important, but none of this would have happened without the support that we got from CBMA and institutions across the country. But educators are tremendously excited about having a way to represent the values of communities of color in their classrooms, in their curriculum, and they don't have any practical tools that are exciting to the students. And Question Bridge excites students because they see black men, the men who, either are or are not parts of their family, speaking directly to issues that come from their lives. And so the book as a tool for educators to use to build a more inclusive curriculum is an incredible front for us, and we're really excited about Aperture and CBMA supporting the creation of this book because it does it in a way that the app can't do it.
So this is Sean, and I just wanted to quickly jump into that point, and this is a real-time announcement on this call. In New York City, Paul Forbes, who runs the Expanded Success Initiative for the Young Men's Initiative in New York City, over 40 high schools, has just declared that they will get Question Bridge into the New York City Board of Ed. I don't know if he's speaking for the entire Board of Ed, but I know he's at least speaking for the 40 high schools and the work that he is doing with black males in New York City. So I just wanted to announce that real-time collaboration happening on this call as we speak.
That is so exciting. Thank you, Sean.
And that's a good segue actually over to you, Rashid. We've been talking about CBMA being an early supporter of Question Bridge and now co-publisher of the book. Can you talk a little bit more about the origins of CBMA's involvement with Question Bridge and why you feel it was such an important investment? And also how you think the project can be used to help elevate and advance the black male achievement field.
All right. Thank you so much, Janet, and great moderation, and appreciate being on the call today. I just want to also just thank Hank, Jesse, Chris, Baite, Natasha, Deb Willis, Will, and the whole entire Question Bridge team, because without Question Bridge, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and it's an amazing project. And just to kind of give background and just give where we were, Sean and I, we began this project, and I'll just really turn to Sean because when I joined the foundation at the Open Society Foundation and we were working to campaign for black male achievement, Sean used to always say we wanted to create media that we allowed ourselves to be masters of our own media, our community to be able to tell its own stories, and black men and boys to be able to tell their own stories. And I feel like we always approached every project that we invested in, every project that we supported with the basic idea of how do we help others bring their dreams to reality. Malcolm X tends to also say that, he sees himself through the eyes of the victim, and often American dream is often an American nightmare when you look at what's happening with African-American males, when you look at what's happening to the African-American community, when you look at what's happening with women, girls, it's devastating, but at the same time, there's also another reality that happens, and I think Question Bridge tells that story. And so Sean and I, as former grant seekers, you often are in a position where you're going to funders and you're having to contort yourself to fit into what their dream is. And what we were so excited about when I had met Chris and Hank, and Chris mentioned the Columbus Circle meeting, we had several meetings, but around that conversation, I believed in their dream, and Sean believed in their dream. And I think that's the power of CBMA, is that we try to bring the innovation that's in the field that others dream about, that have a hope and sense that they can improve the conditions for our community and tell a different story, that strategic communications is the heart of that. And that's what Sean and I believe we brought, was that we never forgot where we came from, that we were once grant seekers. And so when we met with Hank and Chris, our first initial reaction was like, this was a gift, because as we began to launch the campaign, there were a number of projects that were coming to us that we could have only dreamt about. One was American Promise with Joe Bruce and Michelle Stevenson. Another was Be Me Community with Travian Shorters. Obviously, Rashad spoke about Color of Change, the work we did with Perception Institute and Alexis and the Black Middle Me Reimagined work. But Question Bridge was unique because it was the first time that I was being challenged to think about how does an art project translate into a social justice mechanism that can drive conversation around black men and boys. And Hank and I had a lot of debate and conversation about that. And at the end, Hank won the debate, and we were able to be the first investors in Question Bridge. And the heart of it being what I think Hank articulates pretty well in the book is there isn't enough or has not been enough around us in terms of multifaceted and critical self-determined representation of black men and boys. And I think for us, it's about that sense of self-determination for our community. It's about how do we tell our unique stories. It's about how do we elevate the different ways in which we challenge the status quo. It's also about how do we lift up those things that we know we do on a day-to-day basis that doesn't get covered or discussed, that we love, that we hurt, that we cry, that we go through challenges that others may be able to empathize with and be able to lift up. And I love the book because as I was going through it, it really captures the whole history of the project and the whole history of this movement moment that we're in, that people like Jesse, Hank, and others are at the forefront of. And so for us as a campaign and the work that we support nationally, and as Sean lifted up, strategic communications being one of the three pillars through which we move our strategy, for the campaign, it was a no-brainer to really support the work of groups like Question Bridge. And so, I'll be remiss to not mention Opportunity Agenda because it was their research that really helped catalyze for us how do we go about thinking about this work in a way to change the hearts and minds of people around the country to ensure that the discussion around black men and boys stay at the public and philanthropic and policy discourse. So that was our initial intake with Question Bridge, but the book is now an extension, and we're excited and hope that individuals on the call and individuals in their organizations around the country will purchase it and support it and use it in their curriculum and their conversations, and that they want to partner with CBMA, partner with Question Bridge, that we have the resources and assets to support gatherings in cities where we can be able to be catalysts to continue this conversation as it relates to the issues facing black men and boys and our community as a whole in this country.
Thank you, Rashid. And so in closing, with the book to be released very imminently, and this is an open question, but Natasha, definitely if you want to jump in here, how can our members join the conversation? I know with the book in particular, there are going to be a number of book signing events and all types of different activities around the book taking place across the country. So what are some ways that our members can join the conversation, incorporate Question Bridge into their black male achievement work, and then just in general support the book and the project as a whole?
Well, I'll just jump in, and then I'm going to ask Natasha and the rest of the folks, just from a CBMA lens, one thing Sean mentioned, joining our membership, but I think that for me it's exciting that the app is existing, and I would just encourage people to download, especially obviously black men who want to be in the conversation, which I think, we would encourage people to download the app and really be able to begin their own conversation. And I think what is so unique about Question Bridge is that it democratizes our voices. It allows for us to have conversations with other individuals who otherwise we would not be able to connect with, and also to lift up our voices. So I think downloading the app is one. I think the second way for us at CBMA, I mentioned, for members, is to reach out to us directly, go online, see what's happening. We're going to create an online page on our website for the book where we're going to list events happening around the country, and Natasha will talk more about that, but we're planning and being deliberate not to just create our own events, but really partner with organizations and really network to figure out, are there events already happening that we could come in on to support and use this as a mechanism to help that drive their own conversations, but lift up the book as a resource and a tool and do all the things that Chris and Hank and everyone spoke about. So from a CBMA side, we're there to support, and I think if members reach out to us and they're excited about what they're hearing and they want to learn more, that we're here to support that, and our team will back it up.
Thanks, Rashid. That's exactly the kind of thing that we are looking for as well. So the app is available. It's free. It's online. You can get it for at the Apple Store or Google Play, and it's also a really robust website. We're really trying to have everyone be counted. So downloading and creating a profile is the very first step you can do right now. That conversation will continue online and then in other formats. Obviously, when the book does come out, we really want to show a strong force and have our partner organizations be using the book in their work right away. So we'll definitely be sharing information about how to get the book, and there's a list that we're keeping for anyone who wants to know as soon as the book becomes available in their local community, and we'll also have it online. And I know that our other publisher is going to be offering some sort of discount for our CBMA members, so we'll definitely be able to pass that information on to Rashid and to Janet. As Rashid mentioned, we are going to be doing a book tour, which we're really excited about, and we're looking at that both as an opportunity to learn and hear from the individuals we're a huge collaborative team, so we're trying to have opportunities to meet and greet and do signings, but we're even more so interested in identifying opportunities to engage in local communities, really using the book as a starting point for the conversation, as we've done with all of the other aspects of Question Bridge. We've had over 500,000 people have seen Question Bridge in museums. We've had over 100,000 impressions online, and we've had thousands of people in community events in the past, but we really want to reinvigorate this conversation. So we're very interested in talking to people interested in potential partnerships, if there are opportunities for us to come and do some sort of programming, whether it be a direct book talk or signing, or we could do a demo of our app. There are many, many ways that we have a curriculum that Chris is spearheading, and that looking at both that as a freestanding tool or as ways to integrate the book into classrooms or to advocacy groups are things that we're really interested in helping facilitate. So we'd love to talk to people about that. And finally, the other two ways, we really would love to know what you're already doing. Question Bridge is a tool, and we know that there are many people that are doing incredible work on the ground. So hearing about upcoming events, activities, rallies, community happenings of note that tie into the topics that Question Bridge is trying to help facilitate. We'd love to see if there might be a way for us to have a presence or to equip you with what you might need to really take our platform and run with it. And I know that everyone is online these days, and I just one last thing, for us, obviously having a great part of our project be digital, joining us online is really important. We'd love support, and we'd love to be, we publicize the content from the app all the time. We're really interested in having this conversation, as Jesse mentioned. A lot of the things that are shared in Question Bridge are often conversations that happen in private, and by showcasing that in a public way, we're really creating a new way of understanding the humanity of Black male identity in hopes that will shift some of the ongoing challenges that we're facing on a daily basis. So being a part of that digital conversation as partner organizations is very exciting to us as well.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to piggyback on what Natasha said, and that is that one of the features of the overall Question Bridge project that has been really resonant with communities is something called the Blueprint Roundtable. So people want to do a little research on the way those things have impacted the places where we've had face-to-face conversations using the Question Bridge model in public. It's been tremendously impactful.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much again to the entire Question Bridge team. Jesse, Hank, Bayate, Chris, Natasha, and Rashid. We appreciate you joining us today. I, for one, am very excited about the book and encourage everyone to stay tuned, particularly to our website, our email blast, and social media pages, because we'll definitely be pumping the project up on there. And we also encourage everybody to visit questionbridge.com and to follow Question Bridge on Twitter at Question Bridge, because we'll definitely be continuing the conversation there as well. So thank you again. Next, we are happy to turn it over to the final portion of our call, which is the new member spotlight. And joining us for that is Brandon Frame. Brandon is the founder of theblackmancan.org, which is a digital platform dedicated to promoting and advancing positive, reinforcing images of black males. So that's definitely something that we need right now. Frame, a Connecticut native, is also the Director of Business Partnerships and Program Development of Hartford's High School Incorporated, and also serves as Vice President of the Urban League of Greater Hartford's Young Professionals. Brandon, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brandon. So tell us about what your project, The Black Man Can, is all about and why you launched it.
I launched the Black Man Can. One of my favorite scholars is M.K. Asante, and he said, once you make an observation, you have an obligation. So I made an observation that young boys of color need to see positive images of themselves, and that grown men of color need to have their stories told. And so that's the observation that I made. So then I have an obligation to do something about that. So I created the Black Man Can, which is all about actively promoting a positive black male image. So it started as a digital platform in April of 2010. And I was just doing that, telling stories, interviewing guys, showcasing just a variety of different things, positive news stories. And then I said, how can I take that and make it more tangible? So then we created the Black Man Can Journal, which is a journal designed specifically for young men of color to help them build positive self-identity, process emotions, and build critical consciousness through written reflection. And then after we created the journal, it was like, well, how do we bring it to boys? So we created the Black Man Can Institute. And what that is a one-day mentoring institute where we travel to different communities across the country, and young men come out and go to workshops. They receive ties. They receive the journal. And they just get empowered, uplifted, educated, and motivated by men of color. And so at this point now, what we've done, what I've been able to do is create a volunteer network of men across the country. So all I do is connect with different people in different cities, whether it's universities, high schools, nonprofit organizations, to bring the Black Man Can Institute to that particular community. And then I send out an email to the volunteer network letting them know where we're headed. And to come out to do workshop. The volunteer network includes from politicians to motivational speakers to police officers. It just covers the whole range. It's guys who are committed and want an opportunity to give back and uplift young men, and just come do a workshop or teach them how to tie ties. This coming weekend we'll be in Waterbury, Connecticut, and then in November we will be in St. Louis. This year we've traveled to Atlanta, Syracuse, D.C., Charlotte, Windsor, Connecticut, Bronx. I try to cover a lot of different type of communities. So you can hit the Bronx. Most people know there's probably a lot of people of color in the Bronx, but a lot of people don't know that Windsor, Connecticut has this huge population of minority males. So we try to move to different communities, all that have that want to bring a positive image to young men and just overall men of color. And so that's what we're trying to do with the Black Man Can Institute, which is just a one portion of the Black Man Can.
Great. And what tell us briefly, sort of what is the impact you're hoping the Black Man Can will have on the Black Male Achievement Movement, and why you decided to join the Campaign for Black Male Achievement Network, and what that has meant for your organization.
My ultimate goal is this is kind of like it's one of those supplemental programs outside of a school. I work in a school now, but it's one of those things where if you're doing the work in your respective communities, the Black Man Can with what we do around the institute will further develop young men and give them the positive images. I think when I look at some of the testimonials that we receive just about, some of the different workshops, whether it's Respect the Swag by Michael Mallory or Passion Hunger Drive by Malik Champlain, and the list goes on, it really is about putting the different positive images in front of the boys, but then allowing them. I'm a big believer in different messengers. And so by putting all these different messengers in the face of these boys to share, it ultimately gives them a motivation, a source of inspiration. For some of them, the light bulb comes on because they met this guy who they would have not met otherwise, because these guys are situated all throughout the country, and they take time out of their day to fly to the different communities and share with the boys. So you never know who that one speaker or presenter, and they build with them just for 30 minutes and how that may impact them in the long haul. And I'm happy to be a part of the movement and the campaign because I'm just really heavily vested in this work. Everything I do is tied to that, and to be able to have opportunity to connect with other brothers, men and women who are in the trenches and doing the work and want to just continue to uplift our young men and provide them with the opportunities and let them know what is possible in the world is just awesome. And that's one reason why I'm here, and I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brandon. And in closing, we definitely want to make sure that our members know how to support the Black Man Can and your mission. So tell us a little bit how they can do that, where they can join your newsletter, where you are on social media. I'm sure lots of folks will want to follow up with you after this. So, definitely please give some instructions on how they can support.
Yes, absolutely. When it comes to social media, first, the website is theblackmancan.org. You can sign up from the newsletter there. You can also see the Black Man Can Institute website and the Black Man Can Awards website. From there, we're on, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at the Black Man Can. So definitely, follow on those different areas, those different social media networks. And we're really actively right now looking at what cities we're going to go to for 2016. And we're also always actively looking to grow our volunteer network. So follow us if you're interested in wanting the Black Man Can Institute to come to your particular community. Please contact us if you want to. If you have your platform and you speak and you go out and work with young men and you want to work with young men in different communities, please reach out to us so you can get on the volunteer network email list so that you know what cities we're going to and that you can come and impact young men in those communities.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Brandon. We hope everybody on this call will heed Brandon's instructions and definitely go support the Black Man Can. And so that concludes our September membership call. We will be in touch. A few things, as Sean mentioned, we have the Giving Tuesday webinar coming up, the first one next Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m., so definitely be on the lookout for information on that. We also encourage you to stay tuned to our website as well as our email blasts and social media pages for more on Question Bridge. And the recording of this call will be made available by next week, and so we will definitely let you all know when that is up. And thank you again, everybody. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend.